Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors Academy, the place where we not only talk about what's going on in the gun world, but we also discuss how we're going to fix it together. The content that we're going to cover on this episode is all about McCarthy. What actually happened here, and how does it relate to our Second Amendment rights? Because after all, that is what we focus on this channel. Everything is going to be linked in the description box below, and you guys are going to want to see this because this is how we reclaim our freedoms. Now, if you are new or you're a returning viewer, we would love to have you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell to make sure that we can get you in the fold, get this information to you so we can help pass the blessing of the Second Amendment along to the next generation together. And thank you so much in advance for your consideration. But my brothers and sisters, we have got to talk about this because we just watched the drama of all drama, the saga of the decades, happen with the speakership vote for McCarthy. Now, McCarthy did end up clinching the gavel. But what did he give up? And this is in the power of the minority. This is the power of individuals standing up and being strong, because this is everything. Now, I've got an article linked in the description box right down there if you want to see it, but I'm going to pick out a few things to show you what he gave up to Freedom Caucus members and Second Amendment Caucus members, because this, like I said, all goes back to what we need to do to retake our rights from these people who would use them as bargaining chips. Check it. McCarthy concessions to win speakership raise eyebrows. Yeah, it raises eyebrows in the mainstream media. It raises eyebrows in the Democratic Party. The places where centralized power is essential. Check this out, because that's what happened. It got watered down. Representative Kevin McCarthy, Republican California, was forced to give in to a series of demands from detractors to win the support necessary to win the Speaker's gavel after a historic week of failed ballots. Now, keep in mind, it's happened before. It will happen again. This is not something that is unprecedented across the board. It is not common, but it does happen. While most GOP lawmakers are downplaying the significance of McCarthy's concessions, the changes, which are designed to empower rank-and-file members at the expense of his own leadership authority, are also raising concerns that they could cripple the governing functions of the lower chamber. They're not going to cripple the lowering functions. They're going to empower everyone to have an equal voice instead of being put their thumb on and say, you're going to vote this way because I tell you to. That's the key problem. The establishment, the RINOs, they use their force to say, hey, Republicans, you either vote this way or you don't get committee assignments. Hey, Republicans, you either vote this way or you aren't going to get fundraising dollars for your reelection campaigns. That's how they do this. These 20 individuals in the House membership, or in the House members, they actually held his feet to the fire and they did not give him the power until they curtailed it. Listen to this. This is big, and this is why it's so important that we watch what happened closely. One change in particular, which empowers a single lawmaker to launch the process of ousting the Speaker, is giving heartburn to lawmakers in both parties who fear a hardline group of conservatives will use it repeatedly to browbeat McCarthy into keeping crucial must-pass bills off the floor. Crucial must-pass bills, things like raising the debt ceiling, that goes against spending promises. Things like infringing upon the Second Amendment, that goes against constitutional promises. When they say browbeating, what they mean is one member can now say, this is not a good idea. This is not constitutional. You're infringing upon the Second Amendment. You need to stop spending. And they can say motion to vacate. They just gave themselves more power through this negotiation. That's what just happened. And it's crucial for you and I, because now the uniparty has less power than they would have had 10 minutes ago. Check this out. The result, they say, will be a heightened risk of shuttering the government, defaulting on federal debts, and grinding the business of a house to a screeching halt, meaning everyone's voice has to be heard and reflected, which is direct representation of the constituents that put them there in the first place. These people are actually complaining that the constituents' voices are being heard in the House versus a all-powerful centralized force. Don't forget that. Let's keep going, because this stuff is incredibly important. I think it's a terrible decision, said Representative Don Bacon, Republican, Nebraska. If one person can push a motion to vacate, we'll do this again. How would you like to do this every week, he said, referring to the internal battle that delayed McCarthy's speakership victory for days. I think that's the future with a few of these individuals. It weakens the speaker, and it strengthens the smallest caucus of all the caucuses. Everyone has a say. That's the whole point. When you have a lower threshold of motion to vacate, which, by the way, is a historical norm, Pelosi is the outlier. When you have this type of power in the minority, the speaker had better pay attention to every single vote and better pay attention to every single caucus, or he's going to get removed. It just gave the power to everyone instead of centralized in the elite in the entrenchment. That's important. But let's keep going. Quote, "There will be no clean debt ceiling increase, that's for sure," echoed Representative Scott Perry, Republican, Pennsylvania, another McCarthy opponent who was brought around to support him by the new concessions. They're stopping the spending. That's one of the things. That demand has prompted howls from Democrats who want to protect the nation's safety net programs, entitlements, and spending, and fear the heightened risk of a federal default if McCarthy yields to the conservatives' wishes. So basically, you're not going to continue spending. You're not going to continue printing money out of thin air, inflation. You're not going to continue doing all the things we want to do because now the minority of conservatives have actually a voice. You guys hearing what this is saying? Let's keep going. If they do the debt ceiling, we're screwed, a Democratic lawmaker said Friday, because they've built the entitlements in so big and so far, and they've infringed upon all the rights of the citizenry, that if they don't continue it, they're in trouble with their constituents. That's the point. It feeds its own system, and they just got a shock to it. The other changes adopted by Republicans as they open the 118th Congress are less controversial. They include a guaranteed floor vote to establish term limits for all House lawmakers. That sounds amazing. An open amendment process, providing rank-and-file members with more power to alter legislation. That sounds like a good idea. Adoption of the so-called Holman Rule, which grants Congress new powers over federal agencies. Skirt! Federal agencies like the EPA, federal agencies like the ATF, the DOJ, the FBI. You mean like those? The ones that are running amok amongst our rights and using our rights as doormats? I think the Holman Rule might have some staying power there. This is important as Jim Jordan goes into the into the chairmanship for the Judiciary Committee. This is how we do this. Which requires a full 3 days to allow lawmakers to read the bills before they hit the floor. Isn't that weird? Reading a bill before you vote on it. And here's what McCarthy said. This is key. "It would only be a weaker speaker if I was afraid of it," he told reporters Thursday night. "I won't be a weaker speaker," talking about the motion to vacate. "That's the way it's always been, except for the last speaker. I think I'm very fine with that," he added. Do you understand what that statement means? Pelosi changed the rules completely and put all the power in herself and made it almost impossible to remove her. They came back and they were actually fighting to keep the Democrat rules in place on the Republican side. The Republican the Republican House members said that ain't happening, and we've reverted back to norm. All the controversy, all the media coverage, all the upset videos, everything that you've seen has been about going back to the norm, not about keeping Pelosi's rules. That's what this has been about. But Democrats are sounding the alarm, warning that the California Republicans' offer to his right flank diminishes his authority at the detriment of stable governance. Stable governance. You mean continuing the exact same entrenchment and entitlements, continuing the same spending, continuing the same infringements, and using our rights as trading tokens? You mean that? Yeah, I'm here for it. That's what I've got for you guys. That's what just happened, and I cannot wait to hear what you guys think in the comments below. I will see you on the next video.